Hello and welcome back. In today's video, we're going to be taking a brief look at the stock and crypto markets, as well as taking a bit of a look at the Raiz Invest portfolio that has crossed a very large and long time coming milestone, in addition to looking at the Spaceship Voyager and Swyftx crypto portfolios. But with all that said, let's get straight into it. So to start things off, the markets have been trending up this week. We had the S&P 500, which is the main US index, up almost 2%. And this is in spite of the US CPI data coming out. The figures for the month of September were a 0.4% increase as opposed to a 0.3% increase as expected. So inflation's been running a little bit hotter, and despite this, the market doesn't care. There was a similar story with the Australian market, the ASX 200, which managed about a 0.5% increase this week, and also STW, which is the main ASX 200 index for Raiz Invest users, paid its dividend. So congrats to everybody holding STW at the moment. That would be a fairly substantial dividend there. But in terms of the market, and in particular crypto, Bitcoin this week has put on a sizzling performance. It has risen up about another 10% this week to over $60,000 at the time of recording this video. It actually briefly peaked up to $62,000 USD, and this brings it very, very close to its former all-time highs. And what's interesting to note with this particular rally is that it is still fairly Bitcoin dominated at the moment. The altcoins have been moving up, and some have been moving up impressively, but generally speaking, things like ETH have lagged just a little bit. They're catching up a bit now, but so far Bitcoin has led the charge, and this is because of the imminent possible approval of a few Bitcoin futures ETFs. And this is another sort of step forward from what we were talking about last week, where it was an ETF talking about companies that invested their assets into crypto. This is something that tracks the Bitcoin futures market. So getting closer and closer there. And the thing with events such as this is that it sets a precedent. Normally, once one or two ETFs get approved, it kind of opens the floodgate, and you get everybody who's applied sort of trickle through in very, very quick succession. So very, very exciting news there. And the crypto market's white hot, and it'll be interesting to see if this momentum continues, especially now that the broader markets, the S&P 500 and so forth, are rallying higher. And ideally, what would be the nicest to see is everything popping off at the same time, just having that ultra euphoria pushing everything up. But with that said, let's move along now to the Raiz Invest portfolio. So there we have it. We are past $100,000 in Raiz. I will admit that I did kind of punt it across the finish line. I dropped in another $10,000, but currently the account stands at $104,494 with an overall gain of $10,942, and in percentage terms that's 17.6%. So you have to remember that the markets are still a little bit down from where they were. They have been improving this week, but you know, I've been sitting at 90, 91, 92, and I was just like, screw it. I'm just going to punt this across the finish line to 100k and hit that milestone before the end of the year. And for me, look, this is a culmination of 2.5 years of work. I started this portfolio back around May of 2019, and I've been building it consistently ever since. And I remember just when I started that saying to myself, one day I'm going to hit 100k in here, one day I'm going to hit 100k in here, and it seems so far away. It really did seem so far in the distance that I couldn't envision myself doing it like as quick as I did. And I'm really, you know, proud of myself, I guess, for being consistent thus far and sticking with it. Yeah, I have changed my portfolio a little bit, you know, as custom came out and so forth, but I've essentially stayed the course. And for the most part, I've dollar cost averaged $100 a day into the account, sometimes more, sometimes less. I've obviously done a few lump sums. I did 5k back in May and 10k on the Friday. So yeah, I mean, most of it's been DCA. And look, to be perfectly honest, 2.5 years in the market, it still hasn't had that much time in. I mean, when you consider that most of the money in this account was put in the last year, it's, you know, a fairly reasonable feat. Like this time last year, the account was at 41,000, 42,000. So it's gained over $60,000. I mean, contributions and returns together the past year. So that's why my returns might be a little lower in percentage terms compared to someone who just yeeted a massive lump sum in, you know, in the March 2020 dip. But it is what it is. And I have to admit, this is not the end of an era for me with regards to this account. This is the end of the beginning. And now it's just more of the same. I'm just going to continue to put $100 a day into it, and hopefully the next $100,000 comes a little bit quicker. And what I will say for most people that are watching this and have been following my journey all these years, I think the best advice I can give you is to do your research when you start. Set it up, set how much you want to put in, and try to avoid looking at it. Try to avoid thinking about it. This is definitely a marathon, and you just want to let this sort of bubble away and grow in the background of your life. You don't want to be fixated on this every single day and looking at the news cycle. You know, if you listen to forums or people in the news, you'll have half the people telling you the market's going to crash, half the people telling you to do something else. And, you know, everyone has their own opinion on things. With passive investing such as this, it's a slow burn, and it's slow, but it's consistent, and you can't let what people say sort of shake you around too much. It's just a process, and you know, you'll be tempted to change, you'll be tempted to pull out, put it, you know, and all that sort of thing. But in my opinion, I think the biggest factor, at least for me getting to this point so far, is just doing it. Like just working hard and putting the money in. The rest has been sort of inconsequential next to that. I think focus on the important things of making more money and working as hard as you can for the first couple of years, and then, you know, eventually the rest of things come important. If you've got, like, you know, still a couple of $1,000s in your account, and this is not to sound elitist or anything like that, but, you know, the percentage growth at very small level, when your account's just starting out, it's not that big of a deal. Like if I look at my daily fluctuations back in like 2019, 2020, when my account's still small, like my account might have fluctuated by $50 to $100 a day. And in the grand scheme of things, it's just not that big of a deal. Like now my account can fluctuate by a couple of thousand in a day. So you just got to keep grinding forward to a point where you've built up enough of a sort of capital base to where multiplicative growth really starts to show. And I'm thinking the journey from 100 to 200k will be a little bit quicker, hopefully, just because I'll have that much more money paying dividends, hopefully having capital growth, and yeah, basically have the process I already have down to a fine sort of honed edge. But with all that said, in terms of what I'm doing, as you can see, I've got the big chunky $10,000 deposit there. I was kind of keeping it on the sidelines there, but I figured to myself, screw it. Time in the market, put it in, and I mean, at this point, I'm not that worried. If the market goes down, it goes down. If it goes up, it goes up. And I'm still doing my $100 a day. May up it to 125, depending on how much I commit to my sort of other investing avenues. But that's what's going on. Drop an extra like for 100k, 100 likes for 100k. Bit of a milestone moment. And look, I know I don't have the biggest account by far. I mean, there are people with much more, but still, for me, look, it's a bit of a watershed moment, and something that since I started the account has been sort of this lofty aspiration. So, just anybody out there watching, you can do it too. It's definitely possible. It'll take patience. It won't always be easy, and it'll seem like forever away. But you keep your eyes on the prize. It's possible for you. But with that said, let's take a look at what's been happening on the spaceship front. So, very interesting this week in the Spaceship Voyager portfolios. The Universe portfolio has turned positive this week, only just, with an overall gain of $6.25. The unit price is up 0.9% for the week. So just nudging over into that positive territory, still down for the month, but it's to be expected considering it had a sharp drawdown a few weeks ago. The Origin portfolio, surprisingly, it was the front runner last week, and now it is still in the negative minusculely. It's up 0.05% for the week, so it hasn't really moved at all. The real winner, however, well, so far, is the Spaceship Earth portfolio, which is up 1.57% for the week. And of the very minuscule time frame we have so far, it is, starting to pull ahead. So it's going to be interesting between Earth and the Universe portfolio. It'd be interesting to see if the Universe portfolio actually has some competition now, and in a couple of months we should see, definitely some separation between the three. What I anticipate happening is, if the market does trend back up again, the Origin will probably fall behind, and it'll be the real battle will be between Earth and Universe. But that's what's happening in the baby's first Spaceship Voyager portfolios. They're only little babies at the moment, but hopefully they shall grow up as I add more money. And on the Swyftx crypto portfolio, we've had some reasonable growth. This portfolio is primarily altcoin based. I mean, most of the assets are Ethereum and ADA, which is Cardano, and a small but growing percentage of BTC there. And keep in mind that the Raiz Invest portfolio that I was talking about earlier, that has about $6,000 worth of BTC in it now. So I don't have quite as much BTC over here, but the overall portfolio stands at $4,198 with an overall growth of 17.53%. So the crypto side of things doing very, very well. And this again goes to show sort of the contrast between traditional markets and the potential growth of crypto portfolios. And I'm hoping that the ADA, the Cardano, picks up pace. It hasn't really moved that much since I bought it, and the Ethereum portion of the portfolio has definitely overtaken it in size. But money can sort of cycle around in the crypto market as well. When Bitcoin stops rallying, it has a habit of sort of flowing between altcoins, and it'll be interesting to see if Cardano does get a bit of a rally. But I put in another $200 this week, which bought 1/3 share of ETH, BTC, and Cardano. But that's what's happening on the crypto side of things. But yeah, aside from that, it's just been life as normal pretty much. Just work, and the joys of middle management, and perhaps the prospect of reopening sometime towards the end of the year. It depends on vaccination numbers and all that sort of thing. And I went and got my Fauci ouchie clot shot on Friday, so I will not be forced out of work. Certainly not a choice I'd like to be forced into, but I don't want to be unemployed. But with that said, I'm probably just going to keep plodding along. Like now that I've hit 100k in Raiz, I don't feel quite as much need or urgency to sort of work all the time and push myself for the sake of every single dollar. I'm kind of just settling in, and I've more or less done what I wanted to do for now, and for the next 5 or 10 years, it's just more of the same, really. Now the numbers are just going to get bigger and bigger, and things are going to scale up. But let me know to you, if you've been investing for a while, what was sort of your little watershed moment? Like, have you reached a point where you've been investing and you thought, I've come a long way. I'm proud of myself. And look, for everyone, I think the number's going to be different. I think even for some people, getting their first $1,000 is a huge deal. And it all depends on circumstances. But for you, for my subscribers out there, what's been sort of your like fist bump moment where you just sort of said to yourself, hey, I did all right? I'd be curious to see, like, some people may not have reached that yet, but look, to me, anybody investing is a good thing, and I hope everybody out there attains their goals no matter what they are. But with all that said, I'm just going to leave it here and say my name is Rich, and I will catch you guys in the next one.